The Dallas Stars are coming off a huge win against the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh to close out their 4-game road trip to start the season. On today's episode, we'll walk through the game against the Penguins, talk about things that were good, some of the things that can still be worked on, things that can still be improved, and then we'll just kind of take a look at the team overall after a full week of action as they prepare for their game on Friday, the home opener versus the LA Kings. Lots to talk about on today's Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis. It is Wednesday, October 20th. We're almost to the end of October, folks. That's crazy. 2022 is slowly creeping up. But it's a great day because we're celebrating the Dallas Stars getting their second win of the season, yet another overtime victory. No overtime losses for the Dallas Stars this season, apparently, says the team, according to the way that they've played in overtime and shootouts to start this young season. But super exciting stuff to talk about today. Whether this is your first time listening to the show or you are a recurring listener, I want to say thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening to Locked On Stars and for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Subscribe to the show, follow the show wherever you get your podcasts at, as well as on YouTube. You can hit subscribe. It means a lot to me. If you like what you hear, leave a positive review. Those are always great. Love to hear feedback from you guys on the show. But without any further ado, let's get into this game versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Dallas came into this game, and I was very clear yesterday on the show about how, I didn't think Dallas' chances were all that great, that I thought it could end up being a high-scoring affair, especially from the Penguins' side of things, given the way that they have opened their season with just a barrage of offense. In all three of their games against Tampa Bay, against the Florida Panthers, and against the Chicago Blackhawks in their home opener, where they just came out and were pedal to the metal from pretty much the drop of the puck, scoring within the first 15 seconds of that game. And Dallas just hasn't been able to produce offense like that at all this season. And that was the case in last night's game. But the positive was that Pittsburgh also kind of hit a roadblock. And that roadblock's name was Braden Holtby. And this game was all about defense. I was absolutely wrong about how I thought this game would go, and kind of in all the best ways. Two outstanding goalkeeping performances, goaltender performances, whatever you want to call them. Tristan Jarry of the Pittsburgh Penguins goes 28 for 29 on saves. Braden Holtby goes 27 for 28. Very similar numbers from two guys that really just put on a show. If you like defense, if you like good goalkeeping, if you like no penalties, then this was your game. You ate this thing up and you enjoyed every single second of it, because this game just flew by. Like I said, no penalties at all, or no power plays. There was 2 penalties, one for each team, given out at the exact same time. Jason Zucker of the Pittsburgh Penguins and Luke Glendening of the Dallas Stars kind of got caught up with one another halfway through the third period and got into a little bit of a scuffle. That sent both of them to the penalty box, but that just resulted in a 4-on-4 2-minute frame that neither team was able to score on, but no one had the man advantage. So there were 2 penalties, technically, one moment of penalties in this game, but it was a very clean game. Seemed to move by very fast outside of just, the occasional stoppage time for commercials to clean the ice up a little bit. And of course, the 2 intermissions that you get after the first and second periods. But it was kind of a weird game in that sense, but overall, if you're just kind of, I guess, a purist and don't necessarily like all the goals and, goalkeepers getting pulled if there's a lot of goals, then this was absolutely your game. 2 very, very good performances from 2 good goalkeepers. So weird that there was no power plays. And I really thought, and you guys heard me yesterday, that I thought this game was going to come down to which team would capitalize on the power plays the most, because that's how it worked for Dallas on Sunday. And just with Pittsburgh's offensive firepower that they've shown this season, would have thought that that's how it was going to work out for them as well. But neither team had the man advantage throughout the entire game. The entire 60-minute game, you throw all that time together in the 20-minute period. So absolutely insane. Just absolute defensive slugfest, really intense game. A lot of fun to watch, and kind of had me on the edge of my seat I was actually working another job I have is doing some videography work for Dallas Baptist University. If you're watching on YouTube, you see I'm wearing a shirt where I went to school, but also doing some videography work for them, and was videoing a volleyball game, but also had my AirPods in and was watching the Stars game in between plays, in between sets, what have you. So getting the best of both worlds last night with my two jobs, but was just kind of on edge. And of course, the Stars broadcast team of Bogart and Razor Ray. They always just bring the hype and bring the intensity to their broadcast. So every time their voices get raised, I'm looking down to see what happened. And of course, a lot of times it was just really great saves from the goalkeeping. But just a really fantastic game. If you're all about the intense games and the close games and the games that come down to the wire, and just kind of get into the nitty gritty of hockey, this was a really great game. Huge win for the Stars to win a game like this. They really needed this win, and it was important that they got a win like this in this situation. But talking a little bit more about some of the good things in this game, the offense at times was really, really good, which was really a nice sight to see, despite the fact that Dallas really only scored one goal, two if you count Radulov's game winner in the shootout, but one regulation goal. But there was a lot of times that the offense did look really good and just kind of got the short end of the stick in terms of Jari playing a fantastic game in the crease for Pittsburgh. Especially at one point, kind of at the end of the first period, when Dallas did take the lead before Raffles shot, Rupe Hintz played really, really aggressive down the stretch at the end of the first period, and it paid off. He had two really high-quality looks at the net and just didn't connect on either of them. But if Rupe continues to play like that and continues to make plays like that, those goals are going to come. It's only a matter of time. He's too talented of a player to miss those every single time. He probably also just wasn't expecting to not have that much opposition around him. Both times really just didn't have anyone to kind of interfere with the shot outside of Jari in the net for Pittsburgh. But Rupe had two really high quality chances at the net, took advantage of it. Unfortunately, was not able to connect. But then eventually, that aggression led to Raffles' goal. And Raffle was the beneficiary of an excellent pass from Radek Faksa from across the ice, from the left side of the ice, all the way across and hit Raffle on a nice one-timer to give Dallas the lead and the momentum going into the first break, which was huge for the Stars. Nice to see, similar to how it kind of was in the game against New York, to see them capitalize on some really good offensive opportunities and to get a nice goal to give them kind of some momentum early in the game, because Dallas has a history of sometimes coming out flat and not always capturing the momentum early in games. On that play, Faksa collected his third assist of the year, while Miro Heiskanen was also credited for an assist and got his second. He hit Faksa, and then Faksa hit Raffle, leading to the goal. Some other really nice offensive moments. About 3 minutes left in the second. Tanner Karo and Denis Gurianov almost connected on another really nice fast breakaway goal. But again, Jari got in the way. Really nice pass down the right side. This is going the opposite way if you're watching from the broadcast angle, which the highlights on YouTube, on NHL.com, wherever you can find game highlights, it's probably there. So you can go take a look at these for yourself. Really encourage you, if you didn't get to watch the game, or if you just want to relive these moments, because it was a really, really fun game to watch. But yeah, Gurianov and Karo almost get a really nice goal. Would have loved to see that shot go in from Gurianov, especially, because he hasn't scored a goal yet this season. Would have loved to see that go in. But again, keep those coming. They're eventually going to connect. It's only a matter of time. Radulov had a really nice fast break look early in the third, kind of on his own, hustled down the boards on the far side from the broadcast camera. Had a really nice shot, just didn't connect. But of course, he got his last laugh at the end of the game. And Dallas even scored, or almost scored, on the 4v4 halfway through the third period. Miro Heiskanen got a nice pass to Jacob Peterson that looked very, very similar to the goal that went in from Michael Raffle from the pass from Radek Faksa. Would have almost looked the exact same. The pass wouldn't have been as long. Maybe not. It's still about equally as nice of a pass, just not the same distance. Peterson, almost in the exact same position, takes a nice one-timer shot that just happens to not go in. But all around, really nice to see this aggression coming from Dallas. I think whether it was, the forecheck or even just playing on defense, there was a lot of aggression and a lot of intensity in this game. And it was just nice to see, especially from our forwards, even though not all the shots were connecting. You look at Tyler Seguin, who had 5 shots on goal, Peterson, Hintz, Gurianov, all with 3, Ben, Kiviranta, and Radulov with 2. So nice effort pretty much from most of, if not all of our forwards, to at least get some shots on goal. and doing some of the dirty work closer to the net, trying to get the puck to go past the goalkeeper and to give Dallas a chance to, put up some goals and to get a win, a comfortable win. Obviously, not necessarily a comfortable win tonight, but nice to see that this is, I think, a step in the right direction from some of our forwards, especially some of the big name forwards like Ben and Sagan, of trying to get their shots on goal. Because again, like I've said about other guys, those shots are eventually going to connect. Jari just had a phenomenal night because both goalkeepers were just absolutely dialed in. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some more takeaways from the game, what I liked, things that continue, that the Stars can continue to work on, because no sports team is ever perfect, and there's always things that can be improved. Just kind of some things from what I'm able to take away from this game that I think the Stars can continue to build on to build their momentum going into the home opener versus Los Angeles. But before we do that, I want to say thank you to one of our sponsors of today's episode, and that is Built Bar. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There's something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorite flavors. The flavors that Built Bar has are coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, and German chocolate. If those flavors all sound delicious and you're overwhelmed by the fact that you can't try more than one when you order, don't worry, because Built Bar can hook you up by sending you 2 of each of the 9 flavors in your order. Not only are Built Bars the best tasting bars that you can get anywhere, but they're also healthy and they're good for you too. They have 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories that range from 130 to 180, and only 4 to 5 grams of sugar. All amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. You can go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Moving on to the next segment of today's episode of Locked On Stars, your first listen of the day. I just want to take a quick moment and kind of break down some things that I liked that I think Dallas improved on from their games, especially the games against Boston and Ottawa, things that they improved on from those to get the win against Pittsburgh, but also some things that I think that they can continue to grow and continue to work on or fix. But one of the things I really liked, just kind of taking a look back, the game versus Ottawa, was able to take a look at how many shots were taken by each player based on what position they play. And Dallas had 18 shots from their forwards and 16 shots from their defensemen in the game versus Pittsburgh. On the other hand, they had 24 shots from their forwards and 5 from the defensemen. So again, I understand that at times it's necessary for the defensemen to shoot from the blue line, to shoot from the top of the zone, because that's just sometimes what the coach calls for or what the playbook calls for, what have you. I understand that, it's not every time does it need to be the forward shooting the puck, because there is a time and place for the defenseman to do so for every team, including the Dallas Stars, despite my frustration that that's all they seem to be doing against Ottawa. And of course, the forwards still outshot the defenseman in Ottawa, but only by 2. And neither of them were getting that many shots up compared to what the forwards did on Tuesday versus Pittsburgh. 24 shots, and I listed off earlier, how many guys were getting how many shots. And it was just nice to see those guys getting in close to the net or getting nice breakaway goals, because I think those are just better, high quality, high percentage scoring opportunities for Dallas as compared to, shooting from the blue line, not really setting up a play or passing it around. There seemed to be a lot more passes just in general from Dallas, which was really nice. Really nice to see that. Really encouraged by that. I think it's a step in the right direction. Of course, I think there will be other games where maybe the goalie is having as good of a night as Jari did. And maybe you shoot more from the blue line because you think you can sneak one past him, or you think you can get a deflection. I just don't think that was the case tonight. I think Dallas understood that as the game went on. They knew it was going to be hard to get anything past Jari that was coming from afar, where he would have more time to anticipate it. And so I think they tried to work the puck more inside. And it obviously worked out in the first period. Didn't connect on anything in the second or third. But again, like I said, they had some really good looks. Had some really good scoring opportunities that against maybe any other goalie tonight on Tuesday night that might have gone in, but Jari was just in the zone. Braden Holtby was in the zone. I've said it so many times this episode, but just a phenomenal goalkeeping game. No wonder both of them received stars of the night, with Jari getting the third star of the night, and Braden Holtby getting the first, deservingly so, and Michael Raffl getting the second, just for fun, in case you didn't know that. But yeah, like I touched on, the passing, another really great thing. This one lone goal that was scored by Dallas was off a really nice pass from Radek Faksa. Nice vision to see his open teammate Michael Raffl across the ice, ready for the one-timer. Just really good vision, nice clean pass. Didn't try to do anything too fancy. knew he could make that pass. I mean, you trust a veteran guy like Radek Faksa to make that play, and he came through. And Michael Raffle, also a veteran in this league, I think he knew what he was doing, getting himself in position. So this team is truly at their best when they trust one another and they use when the veterans are able to use their veteran expertise to make big plays. I think that's going to be Dallas's key to success this season. It's just letting the veteran guys do what they know to do best. And in this case, it was Raffle putting himself in a good position to be open for a shot, and Radek Faksa seeing that, recognizing it, and getting the puck to him cleanly, setting him up for a really nice shot. So, of course, you want to see the young guys, too, get involved in the offense. And I think especially once Jason Robertson's able to get back in the lineup, that adds a whole new dimension to the offense, a whole nother talented, gifted player that teams have to game plan for and prepare for. But as of now, I really liked seeing the passing from Dallas tonight. The pass from Karo to Gurianov on the breakout was really nice, really well placed. Just a nice play by Jari to stop that from going into the net. And again, I kind of touched on it earlier, but Dallas played with a lot of intensity this game and seemed pretty locked in and pretty dialed in, and didn't seem too distracted or zoned out for much of the game outside of a few moments in the second period. Obviously, Pittsburgh scored their goal in the second period. And so I think that, they had been kind of building to that based on the way they had played. And then it just kind of built off it. I think Dallas, maybe just a little discouraged or caught off guard by the ricochet goal off the rebound that went past Holtby. But Pittsburgh was just racking up shots in the second frame. And, John Marino, was the beneficiary of just all those shots going at the net. But Dallas bent is not a word, but Dallas bent, but they did not break in the second period, which was really nice to see, especially against a really good team like Pittsburgh, who we've seen can put up lots of goals. And so it was nice to see, while Dallas's defense and while Dallas's team played imperfect tonight, because that's just how games are going to be. Sports teams are going to play imperfect more often than not. They found a way to win, and they found a way to not collapse and not cave in, because it very could have easily gotten out of hand for Dallas. They could have, given in, thrown in the towel early in, mentally or even physically, and just let Pittsburgh, take that lead into the third period or take a 2-goal lead into the third period and build on top of it. But Dallas kept pushing, and they had some really good opportunities to score down the stretch in regulation as well as overtime. And then they executed well in the shootout as well. You love to see Joe Pavelski and Radulov being the guys getting those goals in the shootouts, because those guys have been there countless times. And Braden Holtby also played very well in the shootout, stopping 2 of the shots. Just huge efforts all around from those guys. Really nice to see them come up big and to end it when it was really supposed to end, because each team gets 3 opportunities. So nice to see it not need to get stretched out any more than it needed to. Nice to see the guys take care of business. Don't extend the shootout any longer than it needs to be. Really nice to see. Speaking of Braden Holtby, like I said, he was lights out in this game. He's having a really great season so far through 3 games of play. Really liked what I've seen from him, and I think that's kind of the general consensus of most Stars fans from when I check social media. But Hayden, I know a listener of the show, who's connected with me on Twitter before, fellow DBU alumni. So shout out DBU once again. He did ask on Twitter around game time, talking about how well Holtby plays, but also mentioning, that sometimes there's a lot of rebounds that come off of him. And obviously Pittsburgh's 1 goal tonight was a rebound that Marino put into the net. Nice shot by him, but Hayden basically asked, should that be a concern for Stars fans as time continues to go on this season? And I responded to this, and I'll kind of share my thoughts now, that I think it's certainly something that he can work on to try to, in those situations when there's lots of guys around the net, those kind of high danger shot opportunities for the opposition. I think that's just something that he can work on and continue to develop, to get the puck down, because better to get the puck down and go to the faceoff circle in your own defensive zone than to try to defend a rebound shot, especially with a team like Dallas, with how well that they do in the faceoff circle, because more likely than not, Dallas is going to win the faceoff and you have a chance to clear the puck from the zone. So would love to see Holtby eventually, kind of take control on that. But I was taking a look online, and it kind of was able to see that while, he gives up a lot of rebounds, a lot of those don't actually necessarily turn into shots, according to a website called naturalstattrick.com. They do a lot of really, really good, extensive work over there for stats for each individual NHL game. So if you want more in-depth stats and numbers that some of those don't even make sense in my head, but maybe they make sense in yours, go check them out. That's naturalstattrick.com. But they run some numbers basically on how many shots are taken from rebounds per game at a goalkeeper, at a goaltender, and Holtby only had 2 on him against the game in the game against Pittsburgh, and I think 2 is about the average in some of the other games as well. So there might be a lot of rebounds, which is still concerning, but luckily for Holtby, a lot of those aren't necessarily turning into shots, according to this website. So to answer Hayden's question, would love to see Holtby, nail down getting the puck saved and secure, hoping Dallas can clear the puck from the faceoff circle. But I don't think it's a cause for concern that he should be removed from starting goalie responsibilities. As of now, I think you keep him there, you keep Hudobin at the 2, and a nice guy to keep in your back pocket, Anton Hudobin, who has played well himself despite the loss in Ottawa. Had a pretty solid game, had a pretty solid appearance in New York at Madison Square Garden on opening night. So still liking what I'm seeing from the goalkeepers early in this season. And yeah, like I said earlier, the biggest thing I love about this team win is that Dallas just did not break. I love that they found a way to win on the road, bouncing back from 2 tough losses. A game, one of them that they lost outright in Boston, another one in Ottawa that they had chances to compete and to maybe even get an overtime loss and get 1 point, but ultimately just a tough, disappointing loss. But to see this team bounce back and respond against another really good team in their building was just really encouraging to see, really nice to see. And nice to see Pavelski and Radulov come up big for the team after Bowness has been challenging, in press conferences, challenging his veteran forwards to do something and to contribute to this team. So nice to see those guys step up and make a difference. And obviously Braden Holtby stepping up and standing firm as well down the stretch and overtime and in the shootouts. Coming up next to close the episode of Locked On Stars today, we're just going to take a moment and break down the current Stars roster and just kind of take a bird's eye view look at the team going into these next few days of rest before the wild, fun, exciting home opener that will be had on Friday at the American Airlines Center versus the Los Angeles Kings. But before we do that, I want to take another moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode, and that is BetOnline. BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON for you to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason baseball, I might add that, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Jumping back into the conclusion of today's Locked On Stars episode, just want to take a moment and kind of take a look at this Dallas Stars team after a full week of NHL action, kind of see where the team stands. Because the numbers don't necessarily look how I thought they would, and I imagine they don't look, the way that many people thought they would look. You look at Radek Faksa. He is your leader for the Stars, both in points with 4 and assists with 3. I'm sure that we all predicted that. I'm sure that we all had Radek Faksa being the point leader for the Dallas Stars this season, as well as Michael Raffl leading the team in goals with 2. And we absolutely all predicted that, right? We haven't been saying, I know I haven't been saying that Michael Raffl is a veteran guy that's just going to come off the bench and score the occasional goal and maybe not always have the biggest contributions on the offense. Couldn't be me, he says sarcastically. Guys with goals for the Dallas Stars in this early season are Michael Raffl, Radek Faksa, Miro Heiskanen, Luke Glendening, Jacob Peterson, and Joe Pavelski. A lot of those guys, we love to see them having goals, but I think really Joe Pavelski is the only guy that's like, oh yeah, it makes sense for him to have a goal early on in the season. I think, when the season started, at this point you would expect to see Jamie Benn, Alexander Radulov, Dennis Gurianov, Rupe Hintz, Tyler Seguin, you name it. Again, love to see that these guys are scoring, especially Glendening and Raffl, with them being the new guys on the block here in Dallas. And even Radek Faksa, Miro, all these guys, you like to see them getting their names on the stat sheet and in the score sheet. But it's just kind of funny to me that this season isn't really going how I've envisioned it and how I imagine many other Stars fans, experts, media members have expected it to go either. And this season just continues to be a mystery. But I think things will change as time goes on. I think, especially after playing in front of the hometown fans. I think guys like Sagan, Ben, Radulov will eventually find the net. Maybe not all in this first game, but maybe just getting that breath of fresh air from hearing the fans cheer them on as they come onto the ice. As Jeff Tay gets the people going with his voice in the American Airlines Center, I expect some more guys to soon add their names to that list of guys who have notched a goal for the Dallas Stars this season. And I think, this team will also be the beneficiary of getting some guys back from injury. John Klingberg, after going down early in the game against New York with his leg injury, is hopeful to come back soon. The coaching staff was somewhat hopeful that he could come back against Pittsburgh, but he did not play. So hopefully with that rest, and then hopefully, if he's able to skate a little bit, but also rest up some more before Friday's game, we can see the return of John Klingberg to the lineup, because the lineup is better with him in it. As two guys we have not seen at all this season, Jason Robertson and Blake Como, who didn't even travel with the team on this 4-game road trip. Hopefully these guys are rested up and ready to go soon, because they add a new dimension to the offense. Robertson is obviously the bigger name of those two, because Calder candidate, young guy, one of the young emerging stars in the NHL. But Blake Como even adds a nice dimension to this offense. He's another veteran guy who knows what he's doing, can be another one of those guys that can position himself well for good scoring opportunities, or set his teammates up for good scoring opportunities. So hopefully we can see Jason Robertson and Blake Como come back into the lineup soon, because like John Klingberg, this lineup is better. The Stars are better with these guys playing. And I know the fans want to see that. I want to see Jason Robertson get his first goal this season, because he had a phenomenal preseason. And so if he was doing things like that in the preseason, I think he, once he's healthy and he's ready to go, he's going to be a ton of fun to watch in the regular season. But that's kind of how the Dallas Stars look right now. I think that, they'll really benefit from being back home and practicing in their facility, getting to stay at their homes, and getting to play in front of the hometown fans. I know I'm excited for this first game in the American Airlines Center. I know you guys listening, if you're going to the game, and even if you're not, just having the team back in town playing here in the 214 is super exciting, and you absolutely love to see it. And before we go, I do want to give a shout out to listener of the show, Chris Long, for catching my unintentional soccer terminology on yesterday's episode. I believe it was. He mentioned that I was using terms like goalkeeper, and that I said the full 90 minutes, even though a regular hockey game is played in 60 minutes time, because you have 3 20-minute periods. That means 60. Obviously, really good at math here. He says again sarcastically. But I did mention, I do this videography job for a university. And one of the sports that DBU is currently playing is soccer. So soccer is running through my mind every now and then. And I'm sure that I'm just going to say things every now and then, as you guys already know that listen. Sometimes I'm going to say things wrong, mispronounce things, or say the wrong thing. But yes, Chris did ask if I do have a soccer team outside of really covering this DBU soccer teams. Not necessarily. I like watching the World Cup. Never really gotten into international soccer, Premier League, even MLS. I have a lot of friends that enjoy soccer, so I kind of get my fill from those guys. But not necessarily my thing. But loved that Chris pointed out that I use soccer terminology for hockey, which has happened this episode and will probably continue to happen, just because I don't want to say the word goalie, or I want to change up what I say every now and then. So shout out to Chris for bringing that to my attention. Always good to kind of laugh at yourself, and that's what I'm doing now, and that's what I did earlier. But that is all we have for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Tune in tomorrow as we take a look at how the Texas Stars are doing in Cedar Park. A lot of good things going on with the AHL team for the Dallas Stars. A lot of good things coming from some of the younger guys in the organization. A lot to look forward to. So we'll talk about that team tomorrow. Thank you for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen of the day the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Show. Host Scott Colin leans in on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. Speaking of free and available on all platforms, so is Locked On Stars. So I encourage you to subscribe to the show, follow the show wherever you get your podcasts at, subscribe on YouTube as well. Thank you guys for the continued support. You can follow me on Twitter at Dane_Lewis and the show on Twitter at Locked On Stars. Thank you guys again for listening to the show, and we will see you back here tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Stars.